right, perfect. And now we bid a warm welcome to this last Sunday in the year, last day of the year, and in the last month of the year. And so today we're going to embark on a journey which will take us into the next year. And we invite you to come along with us as we travel along this highway of the heart and enter deep into the center of what it is that constitutes grace. And when we get into the next year, we want to be exploring the various aspects of grace while riding in the same vehicle called grace. So today what we're going to do is to just look at various aspects of grace and just to explain what we have discovered. And some parts of it might be poetic, which is intentionally, that's our intention to make it that way. And this topic, dwelling in the zone of grace, is going to be our theme for 2024. And in many aspects, grace is uncharted territory. And so we want to meander along as we take our fill from the cup of the inner light. So every person who was taken on this human form has a purpose on this earth. And we set ourselves in motion of going in search of that something. And that something is what will eventually fulfill our purpose. In this life, we encounter so many situations that that can unseat us from our throne of purpose and just throw us off our kilter, causing us to lose our balance. And so we begin our search for answers to what we think will rebalance us. And, our quest lead us into so many things that changes and so many things that comes and goes. However, there's something in existence that does not change, that does not come and go. That thing is the same in the beginning and the same in the end. And that is you, the big you. That is the self. And the driver of the self is love. However, it takes many cues from the substance found inside of that love, and that is grace. And grace can be described as the giving-ness of spirit, or that which generates the energy. When we are youngsters, we learn about the world around us, that which we can touch, feel, and see and hear, and oftentimes we don't look within. So grace beckons us to open our hearts, to surrender to the mystery that unfolds within and around us. It invites us to shed that heavy cloak of self-importance and step into the lightness of our being, to step into love, using the doorway of grace. So grace carries different interpretations depending on where in the world you originate, your culture, your background, or your spiritual path. Grace can be viewed in some traditions as the bridge that stretches across the space of our human limitations and connect us to the divine ideal. Grace, a word that shines with unspeakable beauty, it dances on the tongue like a whispered prayer, a feather on the wind, a sunbeam through a stained glass. But within the sacred text of various religious traditions, grace emerges as a divine gift, and is most understood as unmerited favor, divine blessing bestowed on us despite our shortcomings. It is the undeserved pardon, the open door when we have strayed too far, the sunlight that breaks through even the thickest clouds of doubt. In Christianity, grace is a cornerstone of salvation. It is the unyielding love of God, a light that shines even in the darkest corners of the soul. It's a wellspring of forgiveness that washes over our soul. In Islam, it is Allah's endless mercy, a river of forgiveness that washes away all the sin, the unpardonable. In Hinduism, it is the divine spark within, the essence of our being that whispers of oneness with the universe. It's a cosmic dance of Shiva, the whirlwind of creation and recreation, reminding us of the impermanence of all things and the grace inherent in every fleeting moment. In Buddhism, it manifests as a path of liberation, a gentle hand guiding us towards the unfurling of our true nature. It's a gentle pull of compassion, urging us to release the clutches of ego and find refuge in the vastness of enlightenment. Some schools of thought see grace as a divine dance of transformation. Paul, the apostle of grace, speaks of it as a fabric woven with threads of forgiveness, redemption, and transformation. Through grace, he said, we stand redeemed, the broken made whole, the lost returns to the fold. So as we embrace the transformative power of grace, we become conduits of its magnificence in the world. We radiate kindness, understanding, and a deep appreciation for the fragility and the preciousness of life. We become instruments of healing, mending the brokenhearted and offering solace to the weary. In this way, the dance of grace extends beyond the body, weaving a tapestry of love and light that illuminates the world around us. The spiritual journey, then, is a long life practice of accepting and embodying grace. It's about recognizing the divine spark within ourselves and in all beings. It's about cultivating compassion, forgiveness, and a profound sense of interconnectedness. It's about learning to let go, to trust the unfolding mystery, and to find beauty, life, and wisdom in the cracks of our walls of doubts and limitations. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8 says, and God is able to make all grace abound towards you, and you always, having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. St. Paul here is talking about grace in reference to the law of circulation. He said, if you sow sparingly, that is, in small amounts, you will reap sparingly. He explains that grace is forever available when it's needed. It is like the air. It's always there. It's just for us to tap into it, draw on it, and allow it to flow into us by just opening ourselves. In verse 7, he said, God loveth a cheerful giver, suggesting that when you are making your contributions, your donations, your offerings, and you cultivate cheerfulness, a happiness, a gladness about making that offering, then favor is granted unto you. He said, cause thanksgiving to come through you, lifting your voice unto God. And of course, by giving cheerfully and uttering words of thanksgiving, these two components, these two occurrences enable the energy of grace to be sustained, to stimulate, and to have your returns come to you bountifully multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. In so many instances, we kill our own hand by holding on to what we should be letting go. We are called to serve, and we are called to serve until there is nobody else left to be served. Sometimes in our local community, volunteers are needed to help in a soup kitchen, feed the hungry and the homeless, are needed in a back-to-school venture where uniforms and books and shoes are needed to help the underserved youth who may live in a single-parent home. Many times we have things stored away which we no longer use. Talking about myself here. And if we could find them and donate them to the right location, they may prove useful to these children or homeless people. So the power of grace descends upon you when you make up your mind to give and to serve. It is the power of grace that supports you and bolsters the law of circulation to move swiftly in your favor. Grace, a word both simple and profound, carries within it an essence or an energy that transcends mere definition, an elegance, if you will, that whispers of favor, divine favor, that none of us in our humanness can conjure up by ourselves. And so grace speaks of a divine hand reaching down to touch the mortal coil. Essentially, to truly grasp the deeper meaning of grace, we must venture beyond the confines of language and into the realm of experience, where there is no longer mere whispers. However, instead, grace becomes a loud thundering and the squeeze of a transformative embrace. And you may ask, so what is this transformative embrace? It is actually an elusive embrace. While we're there digging deep, while we're exploring into the spiritual meaning of grace, it remains elusive, just remains an illusion, because in its spiritual essence, grace is a state of being. It is a divine gift or a guiding force on our journey through the earth as a human person. But grace is not merely a passive gift, it is also a dynamic force, a transformative power that urges us towards wholeness and enlightenment. It whispers to us, yes, reminding us of our inherent goodness, our potential for love and compassion, that is. It guides our steps along the path of spiritual growth, pushing us beyond our comfort zones and urging us to shed those feelings of fear that hold us back. In this sense, grace becomes a verb, an active pursuit. It manifests in our lives through acts of kindness, forgiveness, and acceptance, both towards ourselves and others. It is a gentle touch that soothes a wounded soul, the patient ear that listens without criticism, the open heart that embraces imperfection. It is a willingness to let go of control, to trust in that higher power, to surrender to the flow of life with open arms. Yet, grace is not always easy. It can be humbling, very humbling, stripping us bare of our pride and exposing our vulnerabilities. It can be uncomfortable, forcing us to confront our shadow side and brings back memories of our past mistakes. But it is through these challenges that grace truly transforms us. It cracks open our hardened hearts, allowing the light of love and compassion to pour in. It refines our perspectives, helping us to see the interconnectedness of all beings and the sacredness of every moment. Ultimately, the spiritual meaning of grace lies in its power to connect us to something beyond ourselves. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we are part of a grand tapestry woven with threads of love and compassion. It allows us to glimpse the divine spark within ourselves and others, and to experience the profound joy of living from a place of gratitude and acceptance. So the bottom line is that we should embody this energy of grace. And to embody grace is to move through life with a gentle, unflinching strength. Embodying grace means holding on to our convictions and our commitments while embracing the mystery of the unknown, that is, of the non-physical or the supernatural. You see, we accept the darkness within ourselves. When we accept that darkness within ourselves, the shadow aspects of ourselves and in others, we are giving ourselves the guarantee that grace holds the potential for transforming our situation from the undesirable into the portals of the light. It is to walk through life with an open heart, ready to be surprised by the unexpected kindness of the universe. It is truly a divine gift to embody grace. This divine gift, however, is not a passive bestowal. It's a dynamic interplay. It is a call to participate in a cosmic dance. However, the dance of grace is not without its stumbles. Our human flaws, our resistance to change, our fear of the unknown can cause us to misstep. And then we cling back to control. We grasp at the familiar. We grab back at the facts and to what we think we know. Yes, it may be that diagnosis from the doctor or what your bank balance is. But when we are unwilling to trust the current of grace to carry us through the unsettled waters of our life circumstances, that is when we stumble and that is when we fall. But there is the thing. It is these moments of faltering that the true power of grace reveals itself unto us. For even in our stumbles, even in our missteps, the divine hand of God remains outstretched, offering us a nudge back onto the path. And so the dance of the light and the shadow of grace is also a word used to describe polite manners or elegant movements. However, in the realm of spirit, it becomes a sacred concept, a whispered promise of transformation and an ever-present force guiding us through the dance of light aspects and the shadow aspects of the journey on this earth. At its core, grace embodies the notion of a divine gift bestowed on us, irrespective of how many stripes we have on our shoulders, how many degrees we earn, or how many times we mess up. Grace is a gentle hand reaching out into the darkness, the unexpected bloom pushing through the cracks of the pavement, and the whispered forgiveness when we make our wrong moves. Grace is that unyielding love that embraces us in our entirety, recognizing not only our potential for good, but also our vulnerabilities woven in the fabric of our being, in our humanness. Grace is, however, it's not a passive gift, as we say, but it urges us to respond with gratitude, humility, and commitment, and living in accordance with this light. When we turn away from the shadow, we're going to face the light, and this light shines forth through grace. So from the variety of spiritual paths, grace whispers loudly of wisdom. In the Eastern traditions, it finds expression in the concept of karma, interconnectedness of cause and effect, reminding us that every act of grace we receive becomes a seed of grace we can turn into an offer to the world. In the Indian or indigenous ways of knowing, it manifests in the reverence for nature, recognition of the inherent sacredness in all living things, a constant reminder of the beauty and the fragility of existence. And so the dance of grace is not one of like an effortless ballet step. Instead, it is an intense tango with the shadow and the light, a constant interplay between our aspirations and our limitations. It is in the midst of our struggles, in the midst of our failures, and in our darkest moment that the true potency of grace reveals itself. For it is precisely when we are undeserving, it is when we feel lost, it is when we are broken, that the transformative power of this unreserved love shines brightest. So when we embrace grace, when we truly accept the puzzle of our existence, that is, to acknowledge that we are both flawed and we are both magnificent. We have both energies running through us, and we are capable of both profound darkness and exquisite light, and that we surrender to the mystery of our being, to trust in the invisible hand that guides us, and to open ourselves to the possibility of becoming more than we can ever imagine. Ultimately, the deeper meaning of grace lies not in a fixed definition, but of course, in our way of being. As we said before, it is a quiet trust that even in the midst of the stumbling and the missteps, we are guided, we are forced. It is by a force that is far greater than ourselves. So we look at another aspect of grace, which is the unfurling part of it. Grace is a melody that plays its symphony in our hearts. And the heart is not just a vital organ, it is a symbol of our deepest emotion. And it sits at the base of the world of our nurturing. With its boundless capacity to love, the heart holds the key to the doors of grace. Step through this open door, and you will find yourself in a nourishing field of spontaneous favor, voluntary beauty, and the quiet strength of surrender. In the spiritual embrace, grace unveils a profound truth, and that life's most exquisite gifts are not earned, but received with open arms. This surrender, however, is not one of resignation, but of empowerment. In letting go of the need to control, we tap into the wellspring of strength that flows from a source beyond ourselves. We become instruments of grace and the conduits through which the sovereign light can touch our hearts and eventually touch the world. And so the brushstrokes of grace paints the heartfelt softer side of humanity and are experienced through acts of compassion when they become woven with threads of forgiveness and acts of service are woven with threads of gratitude. Everything is combined there, and we see grace in the gentle smiles offered by a stranger and in the gentleness of how someone holds your hands while you're going through grief. Grace is experienced in the selfless act of giving without expectation of return. These subtleties is what we should be looking for, keeping our eyes open for. But grace also whispers in the quiet moments, in the stillness of a morning meditation, in the awe-inspiring beauty of a sunset. It reminds us that we are not alone and that we're held in the embrace of a love that transcends our understanding. It is a whisper in the winds, in the leaves, in the caress of the sunlight on our skin, and the profound awareness that we are part of something so much greater, so much vast in this world. So in the end, the spiritual meaning of grace is a personal journey, just an unfolding mystery. And it's a call to surrender, to trust, and to renew, and to just renew our hope in the infinite possibility. So grace is a dance with the divine as well. As we said, of course, it's just listening for subtleties, whispering in the breeze, in the willow branches, a sunbeam in dusty corner of an attic. It's a child giggling in the echoing of the wind and touching your heart. Grace is a cleansing rain, washing away the dust of the undesirable. It is a silent contact between the finite and the infinite. It touches leaves and it leaves an indelible remark. It is a yearning for something beyond the material realm, with the knowing that there is far more to our existence than what we can see, touch, taste, and smell. Grace surrounds us. It is a subtle yet potent force weaving its way through the hallways of existence. When we put the momentary beauty of grace aside, we see that it holds a deeper meaning, a spiritual essence that touches the very core of our being. There's a school of thought where grace is deemed as a gift bestowed on us with boundless generosity. It's not earned through righteous deeds or perfect living, but offered freely like the morning dew glistening on the wildflowers. And it is the embrace of forgiveness after a misstep. So, you look inside this grace, inside the infinite grace that lies in this transformative power, you'll find that it awakens within us a yearning for compassion. We just want to sit into it long enough. A desire to extend the hand of forgiveness, not only to ourselves, but to those around us. Cannot leave those around us in there because we're not in this world alone. We're not an island. And it reminds us of the interconnectedness we share, we breathe, and what we share in this, under this vast cosmic sky. So grace invites us to dance with the divine. This tango with grace is a lifelong journey, one paved with moments both of surrender, responsibility, and struggle. It demands that we shed the layers of ego and self-judgment, allowing ourselves to be moved by the rhythm of the universe. We have to re-emphasize that. So while in its embrace, we are called upon to open our hearts like the thirsty field of life, giving just like the rain sending down on our fields. It is relinquishing control in embracing the ebb and flow of life that we truly experience the transformative power of grace and become aware of the divine spark in every flawed, stumbling soul. And we extend a hand of forgiveness as freely as it is granted. We then take a look at what is happening in the world today. What is really happening in our world? We see a world characterized by harshness and division. We see a world that yearns for the healing touch of grace. And by choosing to embody these qualities, that is compassion, acceptance, and forgiveness, as I've been emphasizing before, we contribute to a ripple effect of transformation. Each act of kindness, each word of understanding becomes a beacon of light, a testament to the transformative power of its spiritual essence. And so we come to the place where we find that letting go is also an act of grace. Grace, a word that whispers of delicate beauty, yet carries the weight of the universe. In the realm of the spirit, it becomes a transformative power of letting go. At its core, grace is the unreserved gift of the divine, and reaching out to embrace us in our imperfection. It's not a static force, it's a dynamic dance, as we say, and it flows through us, empowering us to rise above our limitation and break free from the shackles of fears and self-doubt. However, grace is not without its darker shades or the shadow aspect. There are times when we feel lost in the portals of our own doubts, when the whispers of grace are drowned out by the roar of our anxieties. Even in the darkest corner, the light of grace persists, the beam of light guiding us back to the path of peace and understanding. For grace is not a one-time event, it's a fleeting gift to be cherished and then not to be forgotten. No, it is a journey, an ongoing process of transformation that unfolds with every breath we take. It's a journey that requires us to continually open our heart and extend the same grace to others and see the divine light reflected in them. So grace, in closing, is not a singular event. It's a journey. Grace is a call to live with the awareness of our interconnectedness. So let us embrace the grace that surrounds us, not just as a gift received, but as a responsibility. Let us allow it to guide our actions. Let us surrender to the rhythm of grace. Let us open our hearts to the unyielding love of its transformative power. Remember, the journey of grace is not a destination, but an ongoing dance. As we navigate the uncertainties of life, may we remember the dance of grace. So, as we pray for this year, our prayer for this new year is that we move through life with hearts open to the embrace of grace, radiating its light, and in doing so, contribute to the world where grace is like a gentle, persistent melody, whispers a song of unity and love. And even now, as we seek to discover and rediscover the true essence of grace, we embark on a journey of transformation and be a catalyst for a world illuminated by the soft glow of love and acceptance. And so be it. And so be it. So we're gonna open up and see if there's any comment.
Such a beautiful topic, Grace. And as you're going through the whole different aspects of grace, the simple thing came down to me, what I see grace as. I remember this quotation, His grace is sufficient for me.
Yeah.
And that's just what I plan to stand on for this new year. So it's right there with you and your grace.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it is saying to me is no matter what is showing up, what is going on around me, I hold on to that. His grace is sufficient for me.
Yes, yes.
No matter what's happening, I'm not going to beat up on myself. I'm just going to brush off and continue because His grace is sufficient. I'm not going to be focused on what other people say, what didn't go through, whatever. I'm clinging to that one line. That's my mantra for this coming new year. His grace is sufficient for me. No matter how bad I think I got, no matter what I think I do, I'm okay. And so that's what I'm holding on to. And with all the stuff you have been through, I can truly see, yes, that's what grace is. And if we just operate with grace and ease, it makes our lives so much easier. It makes us able to better accept ourselves, and in so doing, accept others. And that's a key piece to move forward in. And that will spread more love. that will end. I think I wish the leaders of the different nation would take a picture or listen to some of these that are coming from us, the layman people, that, you know, it's just what's needed, not all that you, it's just simple. God has created this life, and it's just for us to experience it, because all that we need is already there. But we just go around and we're getting involved in other people's business. We're over this side, we want to rule over that side. And so thank you for sharing that. So his grace is sufficient for all of us. Yeah. Thank you.
That's a great takeaway. Grace is sufficient because, as Paul said, grace is abound. It's everywhere. It's like the air. And we're not recognizing that it's right here. I just say we're running around pushing in our noses in all kinds of, you know, business that we really don't, you know, we have no business in, and getting ourselves all twisted from one end to the next. And that is why it keeps the message keeps going back to, you know, ourselves. What are we doing about compassion? Or Reverend Alma is talking about accepting. Part of it is that we're not accepting what is, whatever shows up on our doorstep. We're not accepting that. Yeah, we're gone off in the wind. And forgiveness. Those are the substance that sustains this grace. And of course, yes, love is also a key. However, there is this thing about grace that expand love. We're going to look at that also next time. Okay, thank you for that, Veronica. Fabulous.
Yes, Reverend Mahrzxijah, I'm so glad you chose this for a topic for us to study and to really, really understand for the coming year, because I think it's essential to create that identity more strongly inside of our awareness of who and what we are and what we're trying to accomplish here. What's our purpose?
Right.
Sometimes, you know, I understand exactly what you were saying. We're here as spiritual beings for a job of displaying grace. And it's a feeling state I've discovered. When I feel that I'm dispensing grace, I feel good, I feel nurturing, I feel love, I feel acknowledgement, I feel all of the wonderful gifts of God as I am expressing my grace. However, some other times I feel insufficient, or I'm not being given the opportunity by myself to express grace. So because the dark side creeps in there and, oh, you're not doing enough, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. In other words, the power of the dark side that is holding court within all of us is sabotaging that power of grace. I'm allowing that.
Yeah.
I'm allowing that, and I can get stuck there. As Alma says, it's always the pits. I love that. So there is a difference in the feeling state when you are expressing who you truly are, God's grace. And I loved the last person who shared. I'm so glad she shared, because she was saying, you know, I have enough grace within me. Grace is sufficient. And sometimes I don't feel that sufficiency. But it's true that unless I can express it more often and express it more powerfully, I don't feel as if I'm doing enough, because this world really, really needs that grace that we have to offer.
Yeah.
And thank you. I'm so glad we're going to be working on that this year.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Joan, for reminding us that this is a study for everyone. So, you know, week by week, we can take a look, you know, we don't have encyclopedias anymore. Just Google it and see what is there about grace that we can come and express. However, you touch on a point there, Joan, that it's you tend to allow how you're feeling to take you along. But I'm gonna backpedal on what Veronica says. It does not matter, and I realize that you love her comment too. It doesn't matter how you're feeling or what's going on. It is that state that we should embrace. The message says that it's an elusive power, and that transcends into how you're being, your way of being. So if your way of being is compassionate, if who you're being is love, if who you're being is acceptance, if who you're being is forgiveness, then there is you're balanced there. There is no way that feeling of incompetence or unworthiness can shift you from your state of that well-balanced keel that you're on. Yes, it's gonna come. People are gonna come and say this about you, say that. They will steal from you. They will do all manner of things. However, as I say, I'm going back to Veronica's point, that grace is sufficient. So we stand on that platform of grace, knowing that love is there as a backdrop, as a beam to help to keep us firm and steady. So no matter how the wind blows, we're gonna be still on that kilter. So those feelings, yeah, those feelings come to me. Yes, I'm human. As I said, no matter how much stripes you have on your shoulder, you're a general, you're whatever in the army. Yeah, we have them. However, the winds of change are still gonna come at us. Still gonna come, and depends on how firmly your feet is planted in forgiveness, acceptance, and compassion, that you're not gonna sway away too far from your center. And acceptance is something that I've been working on. Thank you, Reverend Alma. Super challenging. Yeah, sometimes something hit me. I said, I mean, really? Should I really accept that? And then that whisper, as it says, that whisper comes to you and said, yes, Mahrzxijah. Yes.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
I listened to Joan and Veronica, and I'm taking touching a point that Joan made, where she says sometimes, you know, she thinks that she's inadequate in grace, and at that point, she's like in the dark. And I just want to remind us that growth takes place in darkness. The seed has to be embedded in the darkness of the soil where it germinates, and then it takes flight. You know, it pops, and we're able to see its beauty and get support from it with the oxygen and food and all that. So I think that at the time when we are like feeling down in the darkness, it's when we are actually able to feed ourselves, you know, from the studies, from contact, from all that, so that we can burst out of that dark state into the light, and then we'll be able to make that great impact on people that, or on things that our original intention is.
Yes. Thank you. And that's a good reminder. That we also backpedal on Joan's commentary, is that an integral part of the description is that the light and the dark are integral parts of the whole dance, of the whole tango with the divine. So we're not gonna get away from that. And as Mr. Smith was talking, I remember we did a study of the archetypes with Carolyn Mace, with Reverend Alma. It took us about 3 years, and we always touch the surface of the archetypal energies. And I believe that is one of another part of it that I'm going to introduce and keep going into the next year with that, because grace is indelible in that. I think that would be a good way to interweave those archetypal energies into our next year, to show that it's not something to run away from. Matter of fact, you can't run away. No matter how fast you think, you're not an Usain Bolt, and not even Bolt can get away from the yin and yang, the light and the dark, the up and down, the wide and the narrow of life, and what grace is here to show us. It's for us to just embrace, and the more we embrace it and we spin on that dance floor with it, is the stronger we get in our resolve to serve. And there's nowhere for us to go but to serve. Whether we want to acknowledge it as serving or not, we are here serving. And so we just grab our partner, the infinite, and do that tango. All right.
That was so helpful. Thank you, Ashley.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you. Because when you're in the dark side and not feeling the grace because of a sense of restriction within yourself, because the opportunities aren't there to give, or you determine that there's nothing to do to help the world, or whatever, that's when you really need the help of the Holy Spirit or God's spoken word to put you back on the track of power, the power that's already there. And so we can regain our perspective, my perspective, let's just say. Thank you. That was very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you again, Joan, because yeah, from time to time I feel smarted. Yeah, I feel that prick from, comments that some of them. Veronica and I belong to a group of masters, and there was a comment made to me that I was too formal. You're too formal. I was sharing it with my glowing master one of these afternoons. And yes, it did prick a little bit, a lot. And I was carrying it for a while, until I found release after speaking with her, and of course in my glowing masters group as well. And that I would list that as the darkness. However, while I was in that space of, you would say, the darkness or the shadow, I was knowing the power that is surging inside of that comment. I knew it, but it still took me a while to release myself from it. So yes, whenever the darkness comes, whenever the undesirable comes, it comes packaged with that light, with that essence that allows us to burst and to move and to release into the light and into the compassion, acceptance, forgiveness realm. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that. So we're going to continue our celebration. Yes, I'm so grateful for all of you and your comments. It gives me that oomph to go on. There's such a word.